In the quiet corners of American folklore, where shadows stretch and the darkness holds its breath, there are stories that serve as warnings. They are whispered from one generation to the next, tales born of fear and designed to keep us close to the light. But some legends refuse to stay in the realm of make-believe. They claw their way into our reality, leaving behind a trail of terror that blurs the line between a cautionary tale and a horrifying truth. This is the story of a phantom that haunted the most vulnerable moments of young love, a spectre born from the anxieties of a generation, who became known simply as the Hookman. The legend begins on a moonless night in a place every small town had, Lover's Lane. It was a sanctuary for young couples seeking a moment of privacy, a place where the world outside and its judging eyes seemed to fade away. Here, under a canopy of stars, they could be alone, but they weren't. The story, in its most classic form, tells of a young man and woman, parked in the deep solitude of the woods. The radio is on, playing soft music, when a news bulletin suddenly interrupts the melody. An escaped patient from a nearby asylum for the criminally insane is on the loose. The report is chillingly specific. The man is dangerous, and he can be identified by a prosthetic hook that has replaced one of his hands. The girl, unnerved by the broadcast, insists they leave. The boy, confident and perhaps a little arrogant, tries to calm her, dismissing it as just a story, a scare tactic. He tells her the asylum is miles away, that they are perfectly safe. But her fear is persistent, a cold knot in her stomach that won't go away. She pleads, her voice trembling, until he finally relents, annoyed at having his romantic evening cut short. He slams the car into gear and speeds away, tires squealing on the gravel as he leaves the darkness of Lover's Lane behind. He drives her home in tense silence, dropping her off at her doorstep with a curt goodbye. But as he pulls away, or perhaps when he gets back to his own house, he makes a horrifying discovery. There, hanging from the passenger side door handle, is a bloody, gleaming hook. The realization dawns with sickening clarity. The scratching sound they heard, the one they dismissed as a tree branch or an animal, was the sound of the Hookman trying to open their door. They had escaped by mere seconds. This version of the story was the one told around campfires. A chilling tale meant to discourage teenagers from straying too far from home. It was a parent's best weapon, a ghost story that policed the burgeoning freedom of the post-war generation. The Hookman was a symbol of the unknown dangers that lurked just beyond the safety of suburbia, a manifestation of societal anxieties about teenage rebellion and burgeoning sexuality. But then, the story began to change. The line between myth and reality started to dissolve in the fall of 1946 in the twin cities of Texarkana, on the border of Texas and Arkansas. Over 10 terrifying weeks, a hooded figure, dubbed the Phantom Killer by the press, began a series of brutal attacks on young couples parked in secluded areas. The attacks escalated from non-fatal assaults to savage murders, plunging the community into a state of mass hysteria. The attacker would strike at night, often near a local lover's lane, his methods growing more violent with each assault. He was a ghost, leaving behind few clues, his identity a complete mystery. The description was vague. A tall man wearing a white sack over his head with eye holes cut out, but the terror he inspired was vivid and absolute. The Texarkana Moonlight Murders, as they came to be known, provided a terrifyingly real-world counterpart to the Hookman legend. While there was no mention of a hook, the parallels were undeniable. A mysterious assailant preying on couples in their most private moments, in the very places the legend warned against. Police reports from across the country in the following decades further cemented this grim connection. In 1960, 2 teenagers were murdered on a remote lakeside lane in Finland, a case that remains unsolved to this day. In the late 1960s, the Zodiac Killer began his reign of terror in Northern California, with his first confirmed attacks targeting young couples in their cars parked in isolated spots. Each real-life crime breathed new life into the old folktale. The Hookman was no longer just a story. He was the face of a real, tangible threat. The power of the Hookman legend lies not in the details of the story itself, but in the universal fears it taps into. It is a story about isolation. It preys on the feeling of being alone and exposed when the familiar comfort of a car becomes a fragile cage surrounded by an impenetrable, hostile darkness. Every strange sound from outside, the snap of a twig, the rustle of leaves, the scrape of a branch against the glass, is amplified by the silence within. The imagination, fueled by fear, runs wild. Is it just the wind? Or is it something else? Something waiting, watching, just beyond the thin barrier of metal and glass. The legend is also a profound exploration of vulnerability. Lover's Lane was a place of intimacy. a space where defenses were lowered. The Hookman's intrusion into this sanctuary represents the ultimate violation, an attack not just on the body, but on the very idea of safety and trust. He is the embodiment of the lurking danger that waits for us when we are at our most unguarded. He is the chilling reminder that no matter how safe we feel, evil can find us. The story forces us to confront the terrifying possibility that the barrier between our world and the darkness outside is far more fragile than we dare to believe. It whispers that the most horrific things happen when we least expect them, in the places we thought were our own. Today, the classic lovers' lanes of the past have mostly disappeared, replaced by the digital landscapes of modern courtship. But the Hookman endures. He has adapted, his story morphing with the times, but his essence remains unchanged. He is the fear of the dark, the personification of the unknown threat that waits just outside the glow of our porch lights, just beyond the edge of what we can see. He is a ghost woven into the fabric of our collective consciousness, a chilling piece of folklore that has outlived the era that birthed it. The legend of the Hookman is more than just a story to tell in the dark. It is a permanent echo of a primal fear, a reminder that sometimes the most terrifying monsters are the ones we create ourselves, and sometimes they are terrifyingly real. So the next time you find yourself alone on a desolate road with the darkness pressing in, and you hear a strange scratching sound, you might want to drive away, and don't look back.